Hello everyone, my name is Bella and my channel is Isabella Athena. While I mainly just make videos about studying, I am also extremely passionate about United States politics. Right now I am a senior in high school in the US and I will be going to university in Washington, D.C. to study politics. One of the most significant influences in American politics is the Supreme Court. And today I'm going to teach you about 4 cases that have affected civil rights in America that I find fascinating and that I think everyone needs to know about. And those are 1. Plessy versus Ferguson, 2. Brown versus the Board of Education, 3. Roe versus Wade, and 4. Obergefell versus Hodges. The first case I'm going to discuss is Plessy versus Ferguson. Quickly, I also just wanted to point out that while learning about these cases, I absolutely recognize my privilege as a white person, and that's why I think it's so essential to be learning about these cases. So for some historical background, this case took place in 1896, and during this time, slavery was abolished in the US, but segregation was put in place. And this case was the first case to challenge segregation in the US. During this time, there were laws separating black and white citizens on public carriers, theaters, schools, and also public restrooms. And now for the details of this case. Homer Plessy was a man who was 1/8 African, and he decided to sit in the white section of a train. He was arrested for violating the law, and he challenged that case in the Supreme Court on the basis that the laws violated the 14th Amendment's Equal Protection Clause. Unfortunately, the court did not rule in Plessy's favor. Instead, they sided with the state's rights to segregate, claiming that separate but equal satisfied the amendment, which obviously it does not. The effects of this case are that the term separate but equal was used for decades after this case to justify the horrible actions of the US, until it would be challenged again in the 1950s. This case is really significant because it was the first case to challenge segregation in the Supreme Court. The second case I'm going to be discussing is Brown versus the Board of Education. This case took place in 1954 during the height of the Civil Rights Movement, and this case would eventually become the most significant court case to come out of this era. So for some background on this case, Linda Brown was unable to attend the school nearest to her home because it was a school that only white children could attend at the time. Her parents, among others, filed suit against the school to try to overturn the segregation laws. So this time around, the court ruled in their favor, stating that the segregation laws violated the 14th Amendment's Equal Protection Clause. This case is extremely significant because it effectively banned all segregation in America. And there is Brown 2, which I'm going to touch on briefly, and basically what came out of that case is that desegregation was to occur with all deliberate speed. I personally think that Brown versus the Board of Education is arguably the most important Supreme Court case. And I think that if anyone should be knowledgeable about any Supreme Court case, I think it should be this one. This case is very far-reaching and influential, and it allowed for greater freedoms and progress. The third case I want to teach you guys about is Roe versus Wade. I'm sure that whether you live in the US or not, that you are familiar with this case because of how relevant it has become in recent years. This case took place in 1973 during the women's rights movement, which was a really important time for advancements in women's rights. So for the background of this case, when Norma McCorvey became pregnant, she decided that she wanted to get an abortion, but Texas state laws prevented her from doing that. So she challenged these laws in the court. The court ruled that the Texas anti-abortion laws are unconstitutional because they violated the Due Process Clause of the 14th Amendment. This case is so important because it guarantees a woman's constitutional right to an abortion in the first trimester. And it also established a precedent for the right to privacy. I think that this case is an extremely important step forward for women's rights. The fourth and final case I want to discuss with you all is Obergefell versus Hodges. This is the most recent case that I am discussing today as it took place in 2015. This case is typically seen as the most significant case for the LGBT+ rights movement. So before this case, the issue was that some states were legalizing same-sex marriage, but others weren't. And it was not legal at the national level yet. And these states were clashing in a way, and it really needed to be legalized at the national level so all states could run off the same law. In this case, sought to make it legal at the federal level. The court ruling ended up guaranteeing a constitutional right to a same-sex marriage. This case was a massive step forward for the LGBT+ community, and it continues to be one of the most significant cases for the gay rights movement to date. And I personally find this case really fascinating and important, and I thought it was really relevant to mention along with the other cases. So I hope this video helped you learn a little bit more about some significant civil rights Supreme Court cases. I think it's so important to understand these cases and the impacts that they have had on the US and society. I am also personally a massive politics nerd, so I love learning about stuff like this. And make sure to leave a comment below of something new that you learned from this video. Remember to subscribe to the StudyTube project, and you can subscribe to my channel if you want to. I would love to have you. Thank you for watching. Remember to keep learning, and I hope you are all staying happy and healthy.